Did you know the US Constitution is the shortest written constitution of any major government? Yet it has shaped American life for over 200 years. Many people know the Bill of Rights, but few understand the original 7 articles. What hidden details might surprise you? Stick around because today we're breaking down the Constitution like never before. When you hear the words, "We the people," you probably think of the Constitution's grand opening. But did you know the preamble doesn't actually give the government any power? That's right, it's more like a mission statement than a law. The preamble lays out 6 key goals for the country: establish justice to make sure laws are fair, ensure domestic tranquility to keep peace within the nation, provide for the common defense to protect against foreign threats, promote the general welfare to help people live good lives, and secure the blessings of liberty to protect freedom for future generations. Many people think the preamble gives them rights, but that's not true. It sets the purpose of the government, but the actual laws come from the articles and amendments. The words in the preamble were carefully chosen. A more perfect union meant that the government needed to be stronger than the Articles of Confederation, but still flexible enough to change. The phrase, "we the people," was also revolutionary. It showed that power came from the people, not a king or ruling class. Article 1 creates Congress, which is the most powerful branch of government. Why? Because the Founding Fathers believed that the people's representatives should have the most control. Congress has 2 parts: the House of Representatives, with the number of representatives from each state determined based upon state population, and the Senate, where each state gets 2 votes, no matter how big or small. One of the most important powers Congress has is the Necessary and Proper Clause, also known as the Elastic Clause. It allows Congress to pass laws that help carry out its duties, even if they're not directly listed in the Constitution. A common misunderstanding is that Congress only makes laws, but it also controls taxes and government spending, declares war, and handles impeachments. Another surprising fact: originally, senators were not elected by the people. Instead, state legislatures chose them. This changed with the 17th Amendment in 1913, giving voters more power. Article 2 establishes the office of the president. The president's job isn't to make laws, it's to enforce them. Many people assume the president can do whatever they want, but the Constitution actually limits their power. Here's what the president can do: command the military, but only Congress can declare war, sign or veto bills from Congress, and appoint judges, ambassadors, and cabinet members. However, the appointees must be approved by the Senate. One of the biggest mysteries about the presidency is the Electoral College. Instead of a direct popular vote, electors from each state officially choose the president. The Founding Fathers created this system to balance power between small and large states, but it's still a point of controversy today. Another interesting fact: the Constitution originally had no term limits for the president. That changed after Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected 4 times. The 22nd Amendment now limits presidents to 2 terms. Article 3 establishes the Supreme Court. However, the Constitution says very little about the Supreme Court. In fact, it doesn't even mention how many justices there should be. So where does the court's power come from? The biggest power of the Supreme Court is judicial review, the ability to decide whether laws are constitutional. But guess what? Judicial review isn't actually in the Constitution. The court gave itself this power in 1803 during the Marbury v. Madison case. Since then, it's played a huge role in shaping American laws. A common misunderstanding is that the Supreme Court enforces laws. It doesn't. It only interprets them. If Congress or the president ignores the court, things get tricky. While outright defiance of the Supreme Court is rare today, conflicts still happen. If the president or Congress were to ignore a ruling, it could create a constitutional crisis. The court's power depends on public trust and the willingness of other branches to follow its decisions. The justices serve for life unless they retire or are impeached. This was designed to keep them independent, but it also means justices can influence law for decades. The Constitution doesn't just apply to the federal government, it also controls how states interact. Article 4 addresses the relationship between states. One key part is the full faith and credit clause, which says states must respect each other's laws. That's why your driver's license works in all 50 states. Another surprising fact: Congress has the power to add new states. That's how the US grew from 13 to 50 states over time. But did you know that West Virginia was the only state to form by breaking away from another state, Virginia, during the Civil War? A common misunderstanding is that states can ignore federal laws, but the Supremacy Clause in Article 6 says that federal law is the highest law of the land. States can't overrule it. The Founding Fathers knew the Constitution wasn't perfect, so Article 5 outlines how to amend it. But amending the Constitution is really hard. Out of over 11,000 amendments that have been proposed, only 27 have passed. There are two ways to amend the Constitution. The first is that Congress proposes an amendment and 3/4 of the states approve it. The second is through calling a constitutional convention. Interestingly, a constitutional convention has never happened. Surprisingly, the president has no role in amending the Constitution. Many people think they sign amendments like regular laws, but that's not true. Article 6 makes it clear, federal law is the highest law in the country. Even if a state disagrees, federal law governs. All federal and state officials, including judges, must swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. But did you know there's no requirement for them to swear on a religious text? They can swear on anything or simply affirm their oath without a book at all. Article 7 explains how the Constitution became official. Only 9 of 13 states needed to approve it for it to take effect. But did you know that not everyone agreed right away? New York and Virginia almost didn't ratify the Constitution as anti-federalists, worried it gave too much power to the federal government and lacked explicit protections for individual rights. To win support, the Bill of Rights was promised, adding key protections for personal freedoms. The Constitution isn't just a piece of history, it's still shaping America today. Knowing the first 7 articles helps you understand how the government really works and how it affects your rights. What part of the Constitution surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. Want to learn more about the Constitution? Subscribe to our channel for videos on each of the constitutional amendments and more great U.S. history content.